21 minutes after 2 o'clock. This is Today on eNCA. Hello, I'm Gareth Edwards. Dan Moyane is away for today's edition of the show. We'll bring you more details of the breaking news on the bottom of your screen, the passing of Frene Ginwala, a little bit later. First of all, the Energy Department is soon going to be overseeing Eskom. The ANC says it's in line with the resolution adopted at the party's national conference just last month. Let's bring in former Transnet CEO Tau Morwe to talk about SOEs and I suppose in particular that of the running of Eskom. But of course we're going to talk about Transnet and the lessons he learned from that. Tau, good afternoon. I appreciate your time. We'll get to SOEs as a broader discussion in a moment. If it is to be brought in with the Energy Department and Eskom being overseen by the Energy Department, what difference is this going to make? What do you make of it? Hello.
Hi, good afternoon, Gareth, and good afternoon to your viewers. Well, government has made the decision that SOEs will move to the relevant government departments. I think, in my opinion, if you look at best practice around the world, that is not the way that it is done. And if you look at the current state of government departments right now, allocating SOEs to government departments will only increase the level of complexity in terms of the management of SOEs. And we're already, experiencing problems. You can see with what's happening with Eskom.
What would you do?
Well, I think, again, I want to emphasize on best practice. If you look at China, for instance, they've got an entity called SASAC, the State-Owned Assets Supervision and Administration Commission. That is the entity that manages and administers SOEs. If you look at Singapore, on the other hand, and the Chinese copied from Singapore, you've got Temasek, which administers the sovereign wealth fund for the state of Singapore. And the SOEs are managed within,
Oh dear, it does look like we may be having a slight connection issue through to you, Tau. It's just slowing down on me ever so slightly, and it's a very important discussion. So, Tau, I'm going to just take a second. Let's see if either your signal or our signal can just catch up as well. You would have seen on our website, the big story today is the increase in the tariffs, which we are going to talk about with Tau Morwe in a moment. This 18.65%. I see it's the second trending story on our website. So if you want information on that, go ahead and head over to eNCA.com. Tau, I'm hoping the connection has sort of just caught up with us. Just finish that last thought of yours. I'm sorry, it started buffering for a second.
Yeah, what I was saying is, if you look at Singapore, you've got Temasek managing state-owned enterprises. If you look at China, you've got SASAC, the State-Owned Asset Supervision and Administration Commission. Government policies come in only where policy matters are concerned. Again, in Singapore, the Minister of Finance is the nominal shareholder in all state-owned enterprises. I think if you do it that way, you lessen and reduce the level of complexity in the administration of state-owned enterprises. Unfortunately, in our situation, we are in a situation where SOEs are not doing that well. Now, to then take them, allocate them to government departments, I think it's going to be a very messy situation. Currently, you've got a single minister, the Minister of Public Enterprises, looking at about, and I'm talking about the main ones, maybe 7 or so state-owned enterprises. In future, if that resolution is implemented, you are going to have multiple ministers looking after different SOEs. And my experience, having gone through most probably 6 or so ministers in the Department of Public Enterprises, there's no continuity in terms of what one minister is doing versus what the other minister is doing. Now, you are going to have 6 or so ministers administering SOEs, and it's just going to add on the level of complexity.
Let me talk about the administrative side for a moment. We know on his way out now, Andre de Ruyter, the outgoing CEO of Eskom. How much of the blame do you think, as a former CEO of an SEO, how much of the blame should sit on the shoulders of Andre de Ruyter? Will a new CEO make a difference? And 3, I can't help myself to ask this, would you be the Eskom CEO if you were asked?
Let me start off with the last question. No, I would definitely not be the Eskom CEO, even if I was asked. Personally, I don't think that an individual coming on board to replace Andre de Ruyter would make an immediate change in terms of the performance of the company. I want to make an example. If you look, for instance, let's take Germany. They've got a different systems where for state-owned companies, you've got the management board and then you've got the supervisory board. So you've got a group of politicians looking after the running of an entity. You do not have a single individual. And if you look at the case of Deutsche Bahn, and Deutsche Bahn is a successful railway and logistics company. In our case, at times, not at times, but the minister determines who's going to be on the board, and at times determines who's going to be the CEO. And that is where the problem starts. Whereas, again, look at China, look at Singapore. In Singapore, companies are listed on the Singapore Stock Exchange. So they are being run in accordance with the rules of the Singapore Stock Exchange. If you look at telecom, the performance of telecom maybe some 5-6 years ago versus telecom now, where government has reduced its shareholding, it's performing relatively much better than when it was 100% under government.
So I'm hearing a pattern here. It's almost once government gets involved, things tend to go backwards rather than forwards. Tau, I'm going to say thank you very much. I appreciate your time, always so willing with your time in talking to us. Former Transnet CEO Tau Morwe, and as you heard here on eNCA, no, he does not want to be the Eskom CEO. I couldn't help myself. I thought I'd ask Tau while I had him with us. My thanks to him for his time today.